Hey friends, so for this challenge, we decided to do a French 2 class, and we are doing a clothing unit.
So our unit is on clothing and shopping in France. So this is for a French class. So we use this unit organizer as our Gate 1 activity. So the first component is it discusses what's your current unit, en fait les magasins. That's just fancy words for one goes shopping. So, and then the second bullet point is the previous unit, which was kind of like this unit, except it's just more simplified. And then the next unit is bullet point 3, which is à la maison. So that's going to be like doing housework and stuff. So we won't really discuss that, but it's just good to have in mind for the future. And then 4 is we're looking at the big picture. So we're learning how to talk about shopping and how to do things in the past tense, because passé composé, that's the past tense in French, is really important. Because if you didn't have that in English, like what would you do? So you need it in French too.
Amen. Yes.
Here's the unit map. So this basically outlines all the important content that we need to cover. And I actually starred the things, if you can actually read that, I don't know if you can. I starred the things that are the most critical or the most difficult. So the vocabulary and then grammar. So the grammar is passé composé. It's absolutely critical for them to learn.
Absolutely.
And then I actually revised this model. So instead of having relationships, I actually made a new box called To Revise. So connecting things to older chapters. So they need to revise avoir because they use that as an auxiliary verb or helping verb, as you English people might say. And then revise some vocabulary from the previous unit. So that works out. And then number 7 is unit self-test questions. So these are questions that students can ask, hey, how am I doing on this? So I'm going to check up on myself. So for example, do I know the vocabulary? How is it used in the context of shopping? So they can ask themselves that as a good way to say, am I ready for this test? Am I ready for my life in France? I don't know, whatever their purpose in French is. And then number 8 is the unit schedule. So this comes last because this is all about backwards design. So we're thinking about the big concepts first, and then we're going to the smaller things like, what are we going to do on this day? What are we going to do on this day? So it starts off with vocab and ends with all the other concepts and test review and then the test. So kind of outlines it. So
Gate 1.
Yay.
Gate 1. Gate 2.
All you.
Okay, so for Gate 2, we use the gradual release of responsibility model to create a lesson plan, which is still focusing on the shopping and clothing unit.
So this lesson plan starts off with guided instruction in the form of a PowerPoint, which I found online, and it's really cute because it has a dog, so it'll definitely attract their attention. The sigh.
doesn't love
That's not an
puppies.
actual French word, but these are the things you find online. So it gives like really great instruction on how to conjugate these things, such as using helping verb, which is avoir, and it really goes through the steps. Like there's a formula on some of the slides, but I just wanted to show a brief part of the PowerPoint.
So this is guided instruction.
So yes, so that's the guided instruction component. And then after that, we're going to go to an online activity.
Which will be the focus instruction.
So this is the focused instruction component of this process. So it's an activity where they go online shopping, because who doesn't like online shopping? So they're going to Monoprix, which is kind of like the French version of a Target. So it's not too expensive, not too cheap. They have different components that they need to find on there, such as a shirt, but more importantly, the accessories and the vocabulary that we're learning, so such as like a belt or even strange things like flippers. So they have to go and find those things, and then they have to later on convert them from euros into US dollars, but that's adding math into it, which is important. So, so basically what I'll do first is model this with them through focus instruction. So I'll go on this website, Monoprix. I'm not going to go right now because it'll be slow. But I'll go on Monoprix and say I'll find this scarf. And I'll be like, oh, this is a scarf I want to buy. It's blue, it's gray, it has bands across it, and this is the cost. So I'd write these things down. And students can either, if they want, they can draw them, or they can just write down what they are. So then after that, we'll move on to the independent learning component, where students will go online for themselves. They'll go onto this website, and then they'll find an outfit that they want. Just like practice, what does a French website look like? How do I navigate it? And then how do I find the things that I need? So that'll be good. And then last, we'll have the collaborative learning aspect. So if you've noticed, we don't have them all quite in order, but that's not the important part. The important part is that we do all of them. So, and it really does help them gradually releasing this responsibility. So, the last component is collaborative learning. So students, we're going to give them topics to discuss, but in the past tense. So they're using their grammar, they're using the vocabulary to explain everything. So they're going to talk about what they bought during this activity. They're not actually going to buy it. So they're going to talk about what they bought, how much it costed, what color was it in, what department was it in, all that good stuff. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Gate 3.
For Gate 3, we talked about vocabulary. First of all, we've got our brick words, and those are the words that are specific to the unit. Like, for instance, we have belt, scarf, necklace, bracelet, tie, purse, wallet, flippers. Then we have our mortar words that are used in, like, most every unit that we have in this class, like identify, find, search, discuss, describe, write, just things like that. We also talked about UDL for representation. The vocabulary is going to be presented in visual and audio and kinesthetic ways. The students will see and hear the words in French and then also see a picture of whatever the word is describing, and then they'll do an action to accompany the word, which is called TPR. It's lovely.
Total physical response.
Yes. Engagement. Students engage with the content as they complete the online shopping activity, and then they also engage with one another as they discuss the purchases that they made, which they will do either orally or they can have a little text conversation. And then for action and expression, we talked about students have the option to draw their item of clothing or to write it, just for like however they can decide what works best for themselves and how they're gonna remember the words.
Gate 4. Okay, so for Gate 4, we use the link model to help students with vocabulary. So the first part, we have the words. So we have flippers, wallet, necklace, purse, and watch. And then we used list the parts. So I don't know how to say this in French, Megan.
Okay. So we selected the word un portefeuille, which is wallet. So if you think about it, in French, if you know French, which, okay. Anyway, port means to carry, something that carries something, so port. And then the second part of the word is feuille, which means paper. So carries paper. And if you think about it, we added actually a reminding word, which is portfolio. So portfolio is something that carries paper. So if you think about it, portefeuille, portfolio, sounds very similar. That's a good way to remember it. So, and then we actually had a linking story after that.
Okay, so with this linking story is about a girl named Alice, and we're using our grammar for the unit, which is past tense in this story. Alice woke up one morning and got dressed. Then she looked in the mirror and put on her favorite necklace and watch. Oh no, she's running late. She grabbed her wallet, threw it in her purse, put on her shoes, and headed out the door. Then she realized she's wearing flippers instead of tennis shoes. So basically students are going to have to use that story to help them memorize and remember those key vocabulary words such as necklace, watch, shoes, flippers, etc. So then you have the French version, which is what you would do in class, is the French version. Then students will create their own linking picture for these vocabulary words. And then there's going to be the self-test portion, which is, can I do this on my own? Can I say this story and can I remember it? And do the actions with it as well.
Wait, no, say it in French.
Yeah.
Party sing.
Okay, go.
Party sank.
It's all you.
Okay, so for part 5, we did a concept diagram, which is still focusing on our clothing unit, but we decided to focus even more on etiquette, which is very different in America when you compare it to France and a lot of other European countries. So we have our key terms over here, which includes fashion, jeans, necklace, tennis shoes, etc. And then we categorize them into categories where if they're always present in French culture, sometimes present, or never present when you're going out and about. Then we categorize them even more into examples and non-examples. So examples for everything that's always present would fit into work, school, and the club. You would wear all of these things when you're going out to these places. You would not wear any of them when you're at home or thinking about stereotypes or going to the gym. And then we created a definition based off of this entire concept diagram, which is French clothing etiquette is characterized by a more formal attire in comparison to U.S. fashion.
Ta-da!